If you're noticing that your child is not talking yet, you might assume that speech therapy is the only answer for them. But here's the truth. Sometimes kids need more than just speech therapy in order to unlock their communication skills. There have been plenty of times where I get children on my caseload who come into the early intervention program because either their parent or their pediatrician noticed a delay in their speech or noticed that they were not talking yet. And while, of course, speech therapists are often a part of the team for these children who are not speaking yet, one important thing to know is that sometimes the reason why the child may not be communicating yet or talking yet is because they may be having some other foundational skills that they may be missing. And sometimes these other foundational skills are things that other disciplines such as occupational therapists or even developmental therapists may be addressing for that child. Now, don't get me wrong, speech therapists are incredible and they are the experts when it comes to that language piece. So let's talk about what could be some of those underlying root causes or some of those other conditions going on as to why the child may not yet be talking. Number one is the significance and the importance of that play, those imitation skills, and that joint attention piece. So if your child is lacking play skills, if your child is not yet imitating, and I don't mean verbal imitation, right? I don't mean like if you say a word, your child says a word, or if you make a sound, your child says a sound. I mean like imitation in play, imitation in motor skills, right? So something as simple as, can your child look at you and copy something that you're doing? So let's say you have a cup and a spoon and you're banging on a cup with that spoon. Does that child have good enough joint attention to look at you, see what you're doing, and for them to also be able to grab a cup and copy what you're doing? Can that child do things like touch their head if you touch your head, right? Can that child do things like do a silly dance if you do a silly dance, right? So whatever it is, you want your child to be able to make those motor imitations. You want the child to be able to see you do something and then be able to return it, because that shows you that they have good enough joint attention where they can start learning speech and communication, right? Because if they are not able to even attend to you or copy what you're doing with big movements, it's going to be a lot harder for them to copy what you're doing with your small little motor mouth movements, right? AKA saying words and talking. So when it comes to play, when it comes to imitation skills, when it comes to that joint attention piece, you may want to look in to see if your child is getting occupational therapy or even developmental therapy to also help with those skill areas. Another area that is often overlooked but could be one of those underlying reasons why your child is not talking yet is if your child has a lot of issues with sensory regulation. So that just means that your child's brain is not processing the information around them in their environment or even the information within themselves to have a good enough response to be able to sit or be able to play or be able to learn, right? So there's some children who are known as sensory seekers, and I'll link a video. I have a whole video about how to know if your child is a sensory seeker. But basically, if your child is a sensory seeker, this may be the child that is constantly on the move and they're constantly climbing things, bumping into things. They constantly want to touch things. They're seeking loud noises. Like, these are the children that are like, go, 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 right? So if your child is constantly on the move, on the go, that could be a sign that they are dysregulated, right? They're not in a space where they can learn. So in order to get them to that space, you have to incorporate the appropriate strategies or sensory-based strategies to really help them with that focus, with that attention, so that they can start learning some of those speech and communication skills. So if your child is having some sensory processing issues, you definitely want to make sure that you seek out an occupational therapist, because that could also be an underlying reason why your child is not yet communicating or talking. Another reason why your child may not yet be talking is due to underlying issues with motor skills. So this could mean body motor skills, like their balance, their coordination, they're just not aware of what's going on with their body. Or it can also mean coordination with their mouths, right? They're not sure how to move their tongues properly. They're not sure how to move their jaw properly. They're not sure how to make that connection between what their brain is thinking and how their mouth should be moving in order to move and execute some of those sounds. Now, of course, speech therapists are great to work on some of those oral motor skills, but occupational therapy can also be great to kind of help with some of the oral input, that oral sensory component, and even physical therapy could be a great addition for your child if you're noticing that just their coordination and balance is off just in general. Because if they are just so unbalanced and not coordinated, just overall, it's going to be a lot harder for them to coordinate those small little muscles in their mouths to get to working. So if you're noticing that their motor skills are kind of a little funky, not quite where you think they should be, maybe also look into a physical therapist as well. And another reason why your child may not yet be talking is due to a decrease in connection. If your child does not have a lot of opportunities for face-to-face play, then sometimes that is also going to be leading to a decrease or delay in that speech development. Now, in today's time, right, in today's age, right, a lot of parents swear by some of the characters or some of the TV people that we see, even like Miss Rachel, for example. A lot of parents are like, oh, Miss Rachel helped my child to talk, which is great. But nothing beats that face-to-face, one-on-one, in-person reaction, right? So even if you do allow your child to watch Miss Rachel or watch some of these other cartoons or watch some of these other shows that are educational, nothing is wrong with that as long as you are also accompanying that or coupling that with actual one-on-one engagement with you as the parent or with another caregiver. So you don't want to just put them in front of the TV and let them learn that way. That's okay as long as you're with them. And let's say, for example, Ms. Rachel is teaching them something, pause the TV, and then you repeat what Ms. Rachel said, right? So it's all about having that human one-on-one connection. And then another thing to add to that is you don't want your child to be so isolated and only have screens as the thing that they're engaged with and entertained with at all times. Because like I said, the best way to get a child to start communicating more and talking more is going to be that connection that they have with another human being in person. You as the parent can start working on that today without need for additional therapy. You can start working on building a better connection with your child. You can start working with your child on being more in tune with you and playing with you and just connecting and looking and having some attention to what you're doing. And that is going to be a great underlying precursor to kind of help building up some of those other skills that are necessary for that speech development. So let me give you just 4 quick takeaway tips, parents, that you can start doing today, right now, at home to start helping your child address some of these issues with that speech component. Number 1, we just kind of talked about it, but is making sure you have a good connection with your child and making sure you're following that child's lead. Look into really seeing what that child is interested in, what they're motivated by, and use that as a way in to start getting them engaged and start playing with them. The more you play with them, the more you engage with them, the more likely it is that they're going to start to pick up some of that speech and communication skills. Number 2, you want to start using your daily routines as ways to start pairing language with the things that you're doing. So whether that is you all going for a car ride, or whether that's you giving your child a bath, or whether that's you feeding your child, those are so many opportunities for you to start incorporating some language into everything that you do. You're basically just narrating your child's life and your life for them so they can start making those connections. And the more repetition they have, the better. Another tip that you can start doing right now is instead of saying or modeling super long sentences, just start with very simple language, very simple words, right? 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, right? You can even do something like play with them, maybe some car play, and do ready, set, go. And this whole week, you're only working on that word go. You're not working on them saying ready, set, go. You're only working on go. So it's time to also start simplifying the things that you're trying to teach your child, because hey, they have to crawl before they walk, right? Typically, that's how it goes. So you want to shorten the language that you're using with your child so that they can start to build on top of one another, one brick at a time. The fourth thing that you can do to start improving that child's language output is to reducing that screen time. So if your child is between like 15 to 18 months and you're still noticing that they're not saying any words at all, then I would highly recommend that you talk to your pediatrician, and I would highly recommend that you get into the early intervention program in your state, which is a state program for children 0 to 3 that provides therapy services for them in the home or in the daycare setting. Wherever the child's natural setting is, that's where services will be held. So if you have children between those ages and you're noticing like, wait a minute, I'm not hearing any words at all, it is the best time to get them in as early as possible for these services. And remember, many kids benefit from a whole team approach. So just because you sign your kid up for early intervention and your only concern is speech, don't be so quick to turn down occupational therapy or physical therapy or developmental therapy if your child needs it, right? The therapist will come out and do an assessment, and they'll let you know what services your child qualifies for. Sometimes the biggest progress that I have seen are those children who have more than just speech therapy. Sometimes speech and OT or speech and occupational therapy work really, really well together and have made huge strides for that child, right? Or speech and physical therapy, right? Whatever the case may be, just don't be so quick to shut down other services because you think that your child only needs speech therapy. So if this video gave you clarity and it taught you a few things about why your child may need a little bit more than just speech therapy, leave me a comment below, and also be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can continue to receive weekly tips and weekly strategies to help you with your child's development. And share with a loved one. Share with somebody else who you think could benefit from this type of information. All right, until the next time, bye.